Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of NCompass Live. I'm your host, Krista Porter, here at the Nebraska Library Commission. NCompass Live is the Commission's weekly webinar series where we cover a variety of topics that may be of interest to libraries. We broadcast the show live every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Central Time. But if you're unable to join us on Wednesdays, that's fine. We do record the show as we are doing today, and it will be available for you later to watch at your convenience. And I'll show you at the end of today's show where you can access all of our show recordings off of our main NCompass Live webpage. Both the live show and the recordings are free and open to anyone to watch, so please do share with your friends, family, neighbors, colleagues, anyone you think might be interested in any of the topics we have on NCompass Live. For those of you not from Nebraska, the Nebraska Library Commission is the state agency for libraries. So we are similar to your whatever state library. So we provide training and resources and databases and grants and consulting and all sorts of things to all types of libraries in the state. So you will find shows on NCompass Live for all types of libraries: public, academic, K-12, corrections, museums, historical societies, really anything and everything libraries. So we will have shows on NCompass Live for all types of libraries. So hopefully you'll be able to find something that will interest you. We sometimes have Nebraska Library Commission staff that come on the show and do presentations about programs and resources and things we're doing here to the Commission, but we also bring in guest speakers as we have this morning. Joining us is Melanie. Good morning, Melanie.
Hello, everyone.
Yes, today. And she's going to talk about becoming a daily destination for your community, making your library become that. So I'm just going to hand over to you, Melanie, to give a full introduction to yourself and then tell us all about what you're doing there at your library.
Awesome. Well, so first of all, thanks so much for having me, everyone. It was kind of cool to see the map where everyone is coming from. But I have to tell you, it's one of the things where it's always a treat to talk to librarians from all over the country. But Nebraska does have a little special place in my family's heart. So my husband is a diehard, and I mean diehard Huskers fan. So much so that his enthusiasm wore off on my daughter, who's a freshman at UNL this year. So nice. we're excited to get to be spending more time in Nebraska than we had been.
So we are happy to have her. Yes, great.
Awesome. Well, as you said, my name is Melanie Weigel. I am the library director of the Forsyth Public Library in Forsyth, Illinois. And so I'm here today to kind of talk to you about how you can use drop-in and passive programming to really make sure there's a reason to visit your library every single day. So first of all, I'm going to apologize. I come from a school library background, so I talk incredibly fast. But what I did want to, before we go on, there is a bit.ly link there on this main page to the Canva presentation. So if you want to pull that back up at any point and kind of go back over any of that, you are more than welcome to that. So.
And I will remind everyone that, yes, these slides will be available when the recording is posted as well. So you'll have access to them all afterwards as well.
Awesome. All right. My mouse to start working here. So my journey as director started about 2 years ago. So December of 2023. 3 weeks later, I added my first program. A year later, we had doubled the number of programs offered at my library. 2 years in, we've increased overall patron visit numbers by over 25%. So this is sort of really the story of how then. So my contact information is on here. I would love to chat with you about all of these things. And as I'll explain later, we are more than willing to share everything. We got the Canva templates, we got the Amazon shopping list, all of that. So if any of this is useful to you, please, please, please do not hesitate to reach out then. So to kind of give you a snapshot of my community, so Forsyth, Illinois is a small village, 3,700 residents in central Illinois, but we are located just outside the city of Decatur. So we have small town vibes, but there's a major highway that runs through us. And so we're sort of a retail center for our community. So like we still have a mall and like a Lowe's and Menards and Best Buy and lots of restaurants and shops. And so I thought it was really interesting. I was checking, over 40,000 cars drive through our very small village every single day. And the village itself sees over $78 million in retail sales a year. And so all these local communities are kind of treating us like a destination. So I thought, if that's the case, why can't my library become a destination library then? So just sort of some comparisons, just so you know kind of where we're coming from then. Most of our, or I should say most, but a lot of the patrons that we see in our library are not necessarily Forsyth residents. They're people that have added in a library visit to their regular shopping trip or going out to eat there. So we only have about 1,500 active library cards at our library, staff size of around 9, budget just over 600,000 with around 38,000 items in our collection. We are part of the Illinois Heartland Library System in Illinois, so there's a few state systems in Illinois there. And like many of you, we have a specific policy that says all of our programs are completely free and open to anyone. So everything that you're going to see today that we're doing, we do not charge for anything then. So we sometimes have to get really creative then about some of our offerings and how we're going to afford some of the cool things that we want to do then. So the advice I was given by a really well-meaning director who I absolutely love and adore when I started this job was, take your time and get your house in order before you do anything new. The problem was I was replacing a director who'd only lasted 2 years, and in that time he had followed that advice to a T. So there hadn't been anything new or interesting or fresh in many years. So as I mentioned, my background, I come to library land from the world of education. So I had been a middle school, high school English teacher, and then I transitioned into a school library role. So I was a solo librarian at a school for 550 4th, 5th, and 6th graders then. So I was used to being very busy. So my goal was to make my library a daily destination for my community. I wanted to give folks a reason to come and visit us every single day. And I got to tell you, nothing makes me happier than a full calendar. So this is what the calendar looked like the month before I started 2 years ago. And it's like perfectly, I mean, there's nothing wrong. It's perfectly fine. There's good programs on there. It's not a problem. This is what it looks like today. And the caveat is this is actually kind of a light calendar for us because we're closed 4 days this month there. So in comparison, in the month of September, we had 51 programs over the course of the month. And so, but like all of you, we're sort of working with those like limited resources, right? We have limited staff time, we have limited budget, we have limited space. And so what we're really going to talk about today is kind of how we can use programs to fill those needs within our community, using our long-term strategic plan to help kind of guide that program development, giving staff ownership to kind of tackle some new challenges and develop new programs, embracing the drop-in approach and kind of how well it's worked for us in terms of bringing new faces in, that ever important budget and how you can use and reuse materials and ideas over and over again. And then finally, a reminder that the best ideas are stolen. So I'm going to give you all of our activity calendars from literally the last like year and a half. So if there's anything you see that you want to have more information about it that might work for your library, please, please, please feel sure to reach out so we can do the Canva templates and any of that kind of stuff then. All right, so to get kind of started then, so my very first program started, as I said, 3 weeks into my tenure, and it was a program called Coffee Talk. And if you notice on the picture there, there's a guy in a neon sweatshirt. So that's Ed. So Coffee Talk was really born because Ed needed somewhere to go. Ed needed something to do with his life. He was 90, he was living alone, his wife had died, and he was kind of one of those guys that needed like a purpose to his day. So a place to be, something to do, and kind of most importantly, someone to talk to. So that's where Coffee Talk began. We already gave away free coffee. We literally just put out a basket of snacks and called it a program. And so we have, it's become a regular thing. So it's a weekly program for us. We have sort of rotating cast of characters, and it's been really fun to see some of our library regulars kind of become friends with each other. Another need we saw was the sort of tech-related needs, specifically for our older patrons to get those tech questions answered. So we brought back Tech Club, which is sort of a monthly meeting where they heard like a small presentation on a tech-related topic, but then most importantly had that chance to ask one-on-one questions. And this was a really good example, I think, of us thinking outside the box. So we had sort of a tech-savvy patron who was willing to lead it, but we ended up bartering that they didn't want paid. What they wanted was free printing. So kind of thinking outside the box as you're figuring out how you want to offer it then. Also have Community Watch, which is kind of a community program where we invite local law enforcement, our village administrator, and our mayor to come, and they treat it like a question and answer session. So community members are able to get their questions answered. Usually it's questions about things like road construction or like when are we going to get a Chick-fil-A, things like that. And then Crafternoon Delight was another one of those examples of filling needs in our community. Our craft programs and our crafters, they kept literally clamoring. They wanted more and more and more. And we were kind of at the end of our bandwidth for how many craft classes and programs we could offer. And what we kind of realized is that they didn't even really want another class. They just wanted an excuse to be crafty together. And so we started Crafternoon Delight, and my staff is very proud of that name. So we're all about the punny names there. And it really is just bring your own craft project that you're working on. We'll give you a table space and you can sit around and chat. So people will do diamond art or scrapbooking or knitting, but it's sort of a way to be social while also doing your own project that doesn't you know, bring a lot of extra stress on my staff then. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you though, don't mess with what already works. For us, that is chair yoga then. It's the most highly attended program we've got. We have chair yoga twice a week. 30 plus people show up to every single session. If I got rid of chair yoga, I would be run out of town. So keep that in mind as you're adding things to your calendar. I also think it's really important to create those programs based on sort of your long-term strategic goals. So when I started, our strategic plan at my library was 20 years out of date. So wow. I kind of started with, yeah, it was bad. Started with 3 sort of director goals for myself, and kind of coming from a school background, one of those was really to kind of increase our youth offerings and looking at how we could partner with schools. So beforehand, we had like a weekly story time, maybe a take and make, a kind of like a playtime kind of program. But I really knew we wanted to do more. And so the thing that's worked really well for us is our kids club offerings. So sort of having that kind of monthly meeting. So the kid, you know, especially for our kids that maybe aren't in sports or aren't doing other activities, they're sort of in the club. And so we're kind of in the middle of our fall session. So right now we offer Pokemon Club, Lego Club, and then something we call Makers and Masterminds. And that's kind of like our messy, STEAM-inspired club. So their first session this fall was all about slime. So they made slime using a couple different recipes to figure out which one they liked. But then they tried to de-slimify slime by saying, well, what happens if I add this ingredient or that ingredient to kind of break it down then? So yeah, it was kind of a fun little offering there. We also have done a couple different book clubs. So last year we did graphic novel book clubs, which was definitely our way to hit like our 8 to 12 kids for sure. This year we're trying out Pages to Popcorn, which are books that have been made into TV shows or movies then to reach them. So if I was going to give you some more advice, I would say to give your staff, especially if you're a director, some ownership on things, and particularly to think big. So our first kind of foray into the big program was our Bluey Bash. So a local library had a Bluey costume they were loaning out. My kiddo loved Bluey. Let's have a Bluey party. And then we put it on Facebook. And then the numbers kept growing and growing. We invited a local coffee shop to bring their little coffee trailer with some custom drinks there. So you can see their kind of menu there. We prepped more supplies than we could imagine. And 800 people showed up to our Bluey Bash.
Oh my gosh.
So we still get a little twitchy when we talk about Bluey Bash because it was absolute chaos, like in the best way. We saw people we'd never seen before. And for us, it was really an opportunity to kind of be that equalizer in our community. So that same week in a nearby city, the Bluey Live tour was coming through, and those tickets started at $50 a pop and didn't even include a picture with Bluey. And so we were able to kind of give some of that to our community members there. So it was one of our favorite things that we have done so far.
And someone has to ask, you had the room space for all those people? Like how?
No, we do not. We are so glad the fire marshal did not come that day. So to give you logistics, we have, so in our library, we have Attached to us is like a community room, which can be rented out by residents. So it has a capacity of about 90. So when I talk about like bigger programs, yeah, 90, and we stuffed 800 in there, don't tell. But so that's about that size. We have a meeting room space that will hold about 20, and that's where most of our programs like the Messy Steam Slime, things like that happen. But a lot of it, honestly, we have some space right in front of our circulation desk where we pull 2 tables out. And a lot of it is happening at those 2 tables, particularly like most evenings we have 2 people working, 3 people tops, and so it needs to be in a location that can be easily accessible for the person to keep an eye on it while also still, you know, working the circulation desk, answering the phone, things like that. So while we would love some more space, and I keep trying to pull for some sort of expansion project, it's not happening. So we kind of have to make do with what we've got.
You make it work with what you got, yeah.
Yeah, which once again, yeah, but 800 was insane. There was like the line was like wrapped around the block outside. So I would recommend going that big on your first go rounds, but we had a lot of fun with it. So. Another kind of thing that we realized is that sometimes ideas have to simmer for us. So I love the idea of like a team trivia event because like in our community, trivia is mostly like fundraiser events where you pay $20 or $30 to participate. And I wanted as kind of a more accessible option. My adult programming person, Pam, was not super into it. So we kind of just let it kind of simmer for a little bit. A month or 2 later, she kind of came around to it. Now it is a regular schedule. We offer it about every other month. Pam has become like, she writes all of her own questions and is like quite the quiz master now. And what I love about it, I don't know if you can tell from the picture there, that was the winning team a couple months ago. It's kind of become intergenerational. So that's actually grandpa, mom and dad, adult daughter, and her boyfriend back. And so kind of having this opportunity where they can all get together and kind of, and, you know, and we feed them pizza. And so that obviously food always helps there, but it's been a really fun option. I also, because we did that, we kind of got comfortable with team trivia. I was able to talk her into hosting a music bingo event. So we partner with our local DJ service, and they really, they handled all the components of the music bingo part of it there. But we had 75 people in for a nacho bar dinner and to play music bingo. And it was so much fun. That we have it booked again for June. Like we're gonna do another big summer reading event. And we talked about the size of the room. We're talking about whether or not we're going to actually get a tent and try and do it outside because we want to expand it, but we're kind of almost at the max of what our room space can hold there. So just, you know, kind of a chance to let those ideas kind of percolate. You don't have to do everything the very first month as you're trying to kind of add some things in. And I think sometimes you also have to realize when something isn't working. And so for us, one of the things that did not work out very well for whatever reason was our true crime club. So we started this off to great fanfare. Like we had like a dozen ladies. They were super into murder. It was going to be great. And for whatever reason, we just could not get that monthly club to work then. So they read a true crime book, they did true crime trivia, watched a documentary, and we couldn't get it kind of to take. And so we ended up switching up. So now instead of a monthly club, we're trying out like quarterly true crime activities then. So the one that's up there, one of my staff member, her daughter's actually studying forensic chemistry. And so she came in and talked about like investigative techniques and things like that. And we had a Lizzie Borden expert that came in right before Halloween that was kind of fun there. And so we're not completely nixing the idea. We just know that it's not worth our staff manpower to try and plan something new and fresh every single month if we're not getting enough reaction from the community then. And then one of our biggest flops is our kids cross stitch club, which my children's programmer at the time thought it was going to be so fun. Spoiler, it was not. Cross stitch is kind of hard to pick up in a short amount of time. And it was really kind of limiting. And so we just let it die its own sort of slow death over a month or 2, and then moved on to some other things. We're looking at, so our Makers and Masterminds STEAM Club definitely incorporates some art. We're looking at maybe adding an additional kind of art-focused kids club we sort of treat it as a fall session, and then we'll do like a spring session starting in January then. So
I
yeah,
think
it was
that's
another
that
dud there.
you learn from you learn from failures, and failing is okay.
Yes, exactly. Well, and it's one of the things like you don't have to advertise to people that you're never doing it again. It just quietly walks off the calendar and goes from there. And speaking of failures, we got more. Sometimes you have to figure out how to use that for us, how we can use up those supplies in a new way. So one of our January drop-in, so last year, had been like a 2025 inspiration board. So it was going to be, what's your word of the year? And here's some stickers. We got a bunch of washi tape and whatever. And the weather was terrible that weekend, and like no one came. And so we had all this washi tape left over. So we're like, what are we going to do with it? So we went to Menards and bought a box of cheap white light switch covers, pulled the washi tape out. Kids, adults alike decorated their own little fun little light switch cover to get home with them, and it was a hit. So definitely think about ways, especially once you've kind of committed financially to something, how we can use it up. We're also always fighting that never-ending running out of storage problem, so trying to figure out how we can use those things that we have had before. If there is one thing that you take away from this entire thing, I would say it's this piece of advice: the drop-in is your friend then. So we know that we can't entirely avoid signups, but I think particularly in our community that they are a barrier to our offerings when we have to force registration. And so whenever possible, we try to do drop-in programs. So we really like a 2-hour time slot. So we will do, in our library, every Saturday from 10 to 12 is a family-friendly drop-in option. We also will add them in the afternoon, like a 4 to 6, like early evening kind of time there as well. So we advertise while supplies last, but like we never run out. We always have something, or we'll just switch it out to another activity that we were going to do later then. And really, it's kind of about making kind of those purchases count and coming up with some kind of new ideas to kind of think outside the box. I mean, one time we literally did nail art. Like we invited people to come in and paint their nails. And it was like this group from like 6 to 86, and they're just over there painting their nails, and it was a grand old time. So it can be kind of like goofy, weird things, but it definitely works for us. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to share some of our most popular drop-in options. So the ones that definitely got us the most bang for our buck there as we go through. For us, anything that includes food definitely draws people in. So taste test programs are huge for us. In fact, we do every single Friday during summer reading, we do Foodie Fridays. And so that's your chance to come in, kids and adults alike, to taste test some new, interesting, or weird thing. So like we've done freeze-dried candy or different flavors of Oreos, or like weird chip flavors, popcorn, the international candy. We did goldfish, pretzels, anything you can think of that comes in like all of those weird flavors, we'll buy them all and set them out. When it's smaller items like the freeze-dried candy, we put them in little like condiment cups with lids. If it's bigger things, we'll put out kind of some small bowls that people can get their own, but I do recommend the small bowl. So if anything happens sneeze-wise or weirdness, you can literally just dump out what you have and start with a clean, fresh bowl there. So that has been a big hit for us. We also have some taste test programs that we do that are a little bit more geared towards adults then. So Pam, my adult program person, has done holiday appetizers and dips, 5-ingredient or less desserts, mocktails, Spice Baby, which is like our take on a spice club with like different spice blends. And so we treat it like a taste test. So you come in, for example, on the holiday appetizer dips, come in, taste test 5 different dips, and she'll have all the recipe cards sitting out there that you can take home to kind of recreate. For the spice one, we even gave away like the spice blends. We had like a barbecue rub blend and gave that away for people to take home and try out as well. So definitely food options are the way to go to bring the people in. Speaking of food, remember Ed from the beginning who needed a place to be? Ed came to ice cream for breakfast, which I thought was the cutest. It was Ed and like some 6-year-olds like lining up before it even started. But we were looking for a kind of fun, it was August, so summer reading was over, but we wanted like a little like last hurrah before back to school, and did ice cream for breakfast, literally just vanilla ice cream, some cinnamon toast crunch and fruity pebble cereal and some syrups. And it was a big hit, so much so that I had to frantically drive to the Dollar General to buy buy more ice cream because they went through everything we had in the first 15 minutes. So, which is a good problem to have. We like it.
Mm-hmm.
Craft-wise, book art page folding is always a winner for us. We always get people asking how it works, and there's tons of templates and tutorials online, but basically it's taking discarded books. My crafty person Jana will tell you that paperbacks around 150 pages are the absolute best for this, so we'll sometimes hoard some of those as we're discarding things, or if we get donations that we don't want to put into the library. But we have made Christmas trees, hedgehogs, angels, like little holiday candles. We use them for decor around the library, different holidays too, but it's literally just like usually like 2 to 3 different page folds there. And it is something that's accessible to everyone. So we have a group in our area called MRI, and they work with developmentally disabled adults. So this is actually one of our MRI friends coming in who made a fantastic Christmas tree. So we just did the page folding. We got some little sparkly doodads for the ornaments, and they had a great time there. So you can find, just Google for patterns and things, so that there's definitely a great option there. Our outdoor paint station was one of our super fun new additions this last summer. So what I really wanted, you know, when you go to the children's museums, a lot of times you can like paint and they got the squeegees and the spray bottles and it's so much fun. We wanted one built for us. So our public works guys brainstormed and came up with a way. So ours is pretty large, it's like 4-sided, but you could definitely just do like one side of it's there. I don't know if you can tell in the picture, but ours is kind of designed where it like, there's little bolts in here, but they will slide up. So this sits outside all summer long, and then early fall, they pick it back up, put it in storage. But it is great. It's just washable paints, some kids paint brushes, spray bottles, squeegees, and we put it out there a lot of times whenever we're doing another outside event. So it's like one more extra station that basically takes no work. When you're done with it, you just spray the whole thing down with the hose and you are good to go with that. So it's super fun. It's just plexiglass inside a wood frame there. If you are crafty and looking for kind of a fun thing, I love the idea of tie-dyeing, but the idea of trying to figure out how we're going to like shirt size and all of that, do pillowcases. You can get them for relatively cheap in bulk. You don't have to worry about size issues then. So for example, that top picture, there's an entire daycare who popped in to a drop-in activity that we were doing kind of unannounced. And so we had something that worked for everyone. It's also a smaller project, so it takes less dye, so you can really kind of stretch it out that way. But we basically just put up a table with clubs, rubber bands, Ziploc bag, the pre-printed directions, and then in an assembly line, put a tarp down in the grass, and then sort of made the rule that the project went on the tarp and nobody could step on the tarp so that the dye didn't end up inside the library carpet. But it was a really fun drop-in, so much so that I think we're going to do a whole tie-dye day for a big summer reading project as well there. So, and yeah, super fun. But definitely, if you haven't done anything, pillowcases and like some of the pre-made kits they sell on Amazon with the tie-dye little bottles are the way to go. If you're looking for a bigger kind of drop-in thing, we did a Dino-Vember party last year. That was super fun. A couple things we were like, we made our own dinosaur fossils. And so I've linked to it on here, or you can kind of Google. It's a homemade recipe that uses coffee grounds. And so what it does, instead of like the plaster ones, if you ever had like dino eggs, the plaster ones get everywhere and they're terrible. This really, the coffee like breaks apart and kind of clumps almost a little more like dirt, and it smells really good the whole time. So it was definitely, the kids loved it. We just bought some like little like wood mallets off Amazon. They had a great time with that. We also really like, another thing, if you're doing an event like this where they're going to be carrying around stuff, we do goodie bags as one of the craft stations. So we'll do just like a white, this is actually my son Cooper holding one, but a white bag there. But Amazon sells a lot of those sticker sheets, and they have them for dinosaurs and princesses and animals or whatever that have like the different eyes and nose and faces. You can kind of create your own. So definitely that was a good option. We did a Triceratops ring toss, a little picture station. This is actually my son Cooper. That's my daughter Savannah in there. She's the one, don't tell her she's wearing the Illinois sweatshirt. She's the one at Nebraska right now. And my other daughter is inside the dino costume because she volunteered to be our inflato dinosaur that whole time there. So that was super fun.
Good ideas for anyone who's planning for next year's summer reading program. The one of the themes is dinosaurs.
Oh, fun. Well, and I have a link later on to some foam dinosaur bones that are one of our favorite things too. So definitely if you've got a little extra money you're trying to spend before the end of the year, that might be a fun purchase for you too.
Yeah, the collaborative summer library program's theme is Unearth a Story. So, and topics would be dinosaurs, archaeology, paleontology.
Oh yeah, then you need to have a dino party. Another one of our really popular options was our pumpkin decoupage, which is literally just those fake white pumpkins they sell at Hobby Lobby, some of their holiday napkins as soon as they go on sale, and then Mod Podge. And you can tell from the pictures, the older ladies were all about this, and they have asked multiple times when we're going to do it again. And so, yeah, it's just a really fun option there, and they're pretty small and pretty inexpensive. We also love mini golf at the library. So if you have not done mini golf yet, my best piece of advice, so my husband's also like a golf pro. So go to your local golf course and ask them to borrow their snag golf supplies. So snag golf supplies, they're what golf courses use to teach junior golf to little kids. And so they're plastic clubs. They hit basically what look like tennis balls, and then the targets are sticky. And so we just borrowed those from the golf course, and then I printed out, like this top right hand corner there is like elephant and piggy cutouts, and I just taped them to bookends and kind of made them be the obstacles then. And we just did it down the different rows of shelving there, so it kind of helped contain it a little bit. And because they're hitting essentially tennis balls instead of either real golf balls, which are going to break your window, or ping pong balls that sometimes go a little crazy, it's a little bit more contained there. And so it was definitely super fun. My other thing I love is that we see a lot of families, like the same families, come for our Saturday drop-ins. We saw a lot of dads bringing their kids for this one, and so it was kind of fun. Mom got a little bit of a break to stay at home, and dad was kind of the lead on this. So definitely.
And that's a good tip to reaching out to other organizations to donate things to help you run a program.
Exactly. And particularly like that's something in the middle of winter, like they're not using those supplies. They're just sitting, they're just sitting there. So it's pretty easy to borrow them for a week or two and go for it. So yeah, so I think that's on our February calendar again for this.
They get the promotion of what they do. And so if some of the kids kind of get the bug from coming to the library, you can say, great, go to the golf club. They'll keep teaching you.
Exactly. One of the other really popular options we had was a stuffy repair clinic. If you have anyone on your staff that can hand sew just a little bit even. So what we really did is we bought like a little like fake doctor's kit and some little pet wrap. But really the thing that parents loved is that we fixed the boo-boos, patched up the holes on these stuffed animals. And so my crafty person, Jana, basically did a little intake form like they were at the doctor. And then while the kids were browsing, she sewed them up. And so by the time they left with their library books, their stuffed animal had been fixed up. And so she's pretty quick at it. If you need a little bit longer, we also had we didn't end up using them, but we had made little like hospitalization forms. So if you needed to keep them like another day or two to finish fixing them, we had done that as well. But parents were super grateful to, fix the ear that was about falling off, things like that. So if you've got anyone on your staff with those kinds of skills, that would definitely be another fun option. Mestival is another one of our, we're looking for summer reading. I see you grimacing, right? We're all about the messy fun. We love it.
Space. I was like, oh, nice.
Yeah, so we've done Mestival twice. The first time we did it, we loved it so much that we made it our main summer reading event for a week then. So basically it is all the messy, crazy fun that you don't want your kid doing at your house. So we did like gummy worms and chocolate pudding that you had to get out without a spoon. We painted with a toothbrush between your toes. The bottom right-hand corner though is like the craziest game was you put on a shower cap, you cover it with shaving cream, and then your partner tosses Cheetos at your head to try and see if they can get like the cheese puffs to stay. Wow. So it was a hit. It was terrible and messy, but it was fantastic. We made slime outside. And then the bottom right-hand corner, literally we had some leftover dirt from our garden. We threw some trucks and tractors in a kiddie pool, and that's our little friend Maverick there. He stayed there for an hour and a half just playing with trucks in the dirt. So it doesn't have to be too crazy. This would definitely be one that, like, it was an outside thing and it was a summer thing, so we had some teen volunteers to kind of help with it. But it was definitely doable, and it'll continue to be. For us, it's also a super cheap summer reading program instead of bringing in an outside presenter. You know, a lot of things right now we're dropping $600 or whatever on a 1 hour program. We probably spent $100 in supplies on this. So definitely kind of help stretch that budget, and it's super fun. And speaking of being cheap, sometimes cheap and easy is the way to go.
Yes.
So these are some of our just super cheap things that we know we can throw out at all points that aren't going to be too crazy. Dance parties are always super fun. We buy the dollar store glow sticks, blow up some balloons, turn the lights off, turn the music on. We've got a dance party. We did Danny Go dance party, which if you've got a preschool in your life is like very cool. We're kind of debating whether we're going to do a baby rave or a preschool prom next, but yeah, we had 20 kids in there just dancing the little hearts out, kicking the balloons up, all that good stuff. Minecraft selfies are literally graph paper and color pencils. That's it. We set out some graph paper, color pencils, make yourself as a Minecraft character, and people stayed an hour and a half to perfect their Minecraft character. I love the kiddo on the left there. You can tell he even started to do his like sweatshirt logo in there with his little hoodie. So
yeah,
it's super fun. Minecraft is still really big, especially with our like younger elementary kiddos. So family game nights, when we don't know what to do, we'll pull some board games out. So we have a few like oversized, like the giant games. So we have a giant Connect 4 that sits out all the time, but we bought like a big Jenga, a big Candyland, a big Sorry. So we'll do a giant option. Sometimes we'll just do card games or different board games. We had a really lovely patron who, you know, every once in a while you have those people that just be like, here's $100, you know, spend it wisely. And so we just bought a bunch of board games. So we have those options for us as well. You don't have a button maker, buy a button maker. It is super fun. I mean, I think it was
so popular.
Yes. And I mean, and they're really cheap, and we love Canva. We like design everything we do on Canva. So we'll make the buttons either on Canva, either the kind that you print out, or like a black and white one that kids can color and design and do it. You can cut it out with a punch. My crafty person uses the Cricut to cut it out. I don't really know how that works, but that's what she does. But once you have the template down to the right size, you can kind of keep doing it. So like we did school pride backpack buttons. So for all the different school districts kind of around us, people can pick up a button like before like the football games this fall. Around St. Patrick's Day, we'll do like the Kiss Me I'm Irish kind of buttons, things like that. Or you can just let kids design their own. It's kind of a fun teen tween thing too. We have done friendship bracelets so many different ways. My daughter went to the Eras tour, so we had the leftover beads from the Taylor Swift friendship bracelets. So we've done those. We've done like the ones with the letters or the thinner vertical beads. If we have little kids, we just pull out pipe cleaners, and they do pipe cleaners and pony beads as their friendship bracelet. We had a lovely patron who was cleaning out her craft supply and gave us 3 boxes, and I mean boxes, of embroidery floss, all labeled by like their color code that when she was embroidering. We use it just for friendship bracelets, so we taught them how to like braid and do that. And that's another like quick, easy, dump it out. Someone can pick it up in 2 hours, and it doesn't take anyone to really kind of oversee it. If you're looking for a fun winter thing, we did indoor snowball fight, and the parents got super into this. They're just like little, like, I don't know, like felt wool balls or whatever. We bought them off of Amazon. We just thought that they were easier than, we know some people don't like, we just crumple up paper and things like that, but they were a little bit easier to clean up than that, but definitely super fun. And we just literally set them on a table and they chased each other around and threw snowballs across the library. We also love like a design. We do a ton of art stuff for our drop-in. So at any time you can do like a design your own kind of thing. So we'll buy the blank puzzles, the blank slap bracelets, the blank bumper stickers, all from Amazon, and just set out the markers, and kids can kind of create their own, and they get to take it home with them then. So those are super fun. Once again, it's literally just, you know, the thing you buy from Amazon and a pack of markers, and you're good to go. We do a lot of card making, so we do a big like Valentine's for Vets program, but we'll set stuff out for Mother's Day, Friendship Week, all of that. Scratch art's another one that parents love. The kids do it here because it doesn't get those little black scratchy things all over their house. So we like to be the place where you can do sort of the messier activities. Play-Doh has been huge for us. We bought just a pack of Play-Doh and some little tools. Actually, just got plastic knives. I like that better. But and the number of people who really don't want Play-Doh at their house and in their carpet that will come to the library to play with Play-Doh is crazy. So we did Play-Doh and air dry clay. Air dry clay, we let the creations go home. Play-Doh, the Play-Doh stays with us, and we'll get out 5 or 6 colors at a time. If it gets too funky, we throw it away and get another one. But we can get like 2 or 3 different times out of Play-Doh, and so it's like less than $20 then. So if you're get some Play-Doh, throw it out there. People will be in love with it.
So how long does it take for that air dry clay to actually dry? Is that something that
it takes a couple hours to become like dry? The problem is that once you open the container, even if you reseal it, it starts to kind of get a little funky. So that's why we library take it home, because we basically end up having to throw it away like when we're done with it. So we just let it be.
When you start another day, yeah.
And the last thing we're going to touch on was like to not forget the importance of kind of passive programming, those things that are out all the time that are available to patrons that don't really require a lot of staff intervention then. And so even the basics, like we talk about like our coffee bar. So we have free coffee out every single day. Our town, strangely, we have like a Starbucks, or like the older people go to McDonald's, but we don't have like a coffee shop or like cafe where people like go and like sit all morning and drink coffee. So a lot of our regulars will come. We get a ton of people who come to read the newspaper because delivery of our local newspaper has just like become so expensive, it's crazy. And so they'll come and read our paper. We get like that, like the Wall Street Journal and some other local papers, and drink the coffee. During coffee talk, we add in tea and hot chocolates. But honestly, we make 4,500 cups of coffee a year. We use like the company Bun, like a Bun coffee maker, like they would have like more like in a restaurant, as opposed to like the K-cups or something like that, just because we felt like it's you're getting a lot of waste. It's a lot more expensive to buy that. And honestly, our older people don't want all of the fancy, they really just want black coffee. And then we just use the powdered creamers. We tried the different syrups, and honestly, they just wanted Coffee Mate and a couple different powdered creamers, and they were good to go then. A little sugar and called it good. This is a picture of our kids' play area. So we're sort of lucky that we have, for a library our size anyway, a pretty decent kids' play space there. So like we always have the train table, a play kitchen, a dollhouse, puzzles, some of those like toddler activity cubes, and then like coloring pages, mazes, things like that are things that we always have out available. And then we have sort of 3 bigger toys that we rotate through. So the first are the blue building blocks. Those, our local children's museum has the giant ones that are like basically life-size tickets. We have like the medium-sized ones just because we couldn't store them, but they sort of let them build things. The middle one is probably our most popular, and this, of all things, was a patron donation that someone had in their basement and asked if we would be interested. And I was like, I don't know. And it is the coolest thing ever. And it's also really, they're kind of cashy. So watch for sales or things like that. But you can build it all together, and it comes with wheels, and people make, like the kids make little carts and wheel themselves around the library. So it's super fun that way. And then the dinosaur bones, if you're doing a dino party, or if you just have some of that summer reading money that maybe you want to try and put into something that could last kind of throughout the year, then these are like foam dino bones, and they're made by the same company that makes the building blocks, but they're literally just pieces of a dinosaur skeleton, and they come together. They're probably about like 2.5 feet high when you put it all together. But so you can put it together correctly, or you can, give your dinosaur like 6 arms, whatever you want with it. But they are definitely super fun. And we rotate those through about every month or so, just so there's something kind of new and interesting happening in that kids' play area. Other things that are almost always available, scavenger hunts we're going to talk about in a second. We have a jigsaw puzzle table for adults. Our adult puzzle table is huge. We have a chess table that's kind of sits in between where kids and adults play. We put together a bird watching station because we had a big window. Why not? A checkers and tic-tac-toe table for our kind of between, you know, that like 6 to 12 kind of age there. And then we have coloring sheets, puzzles, brain games for all ages. So in our kids area, in our teen, like literally it's like a table by next to the YA stuff there. And then in our adult section too. And in fact, we just stole a really great activity idea from another library. They do what they call them boredom buster packets, which are like word searches and a crossword and some of those other kind of puzzling things with a couple of coloring sheets, and geared mostly towards their senior citizens to take home with them then. So a good like 10 pages of stuff to kind of keep you busy there. So those are all things we have out a ton. Scavenger hunts have been the biggest one for us. So we have trained our kids that literally they come looking for a new scavenger hunt every time they come in. If you are new to scavenger hunt, so the way that we run ours, everything they're looking for is like basically something that we have printed on cardstock and laminated. So we did not want them looking for physical items that they were then going to pick up and move around and do whatever. It's all things that are like taped up to the wall, so we know kind of, or on the shelves that we know where they're at. I told you I come from a school library background. This link at the bottom here, or you can just Google Melissa Corey Library. She's a fantastic school librarian, and this one on the left is her template actually, and she does holiday and seasonal themed scavenger hunts, I Spy pages, mazes, things like that, but they all come with a Canva link, so you can use it to make it personal to your library. So for example, when kids do scavenger hunts for us, they need to bring it back to the counter and we give them a little treat then, so you can adjust kind of that verbiage, put your name on it, things like that. But she's really fantastic there. We do two different kinds. The first one is the kind where like you're looking for, you find the number and you get the letter to help you solve like the little riddle or puzzle. And then sometimes we do one slightly geared to a little bit younger kids, like the Minecraft one. They were just little pictures and you just went around and found it and checked it off then. But during summer reading, we switch about every week and a half to 2 weeks. We'll go a little bit longer during the year, but it is one of the favorite things. And kids will do them multiple times. So definitely is super fun. We talked about bird watching. We had a big window outside our like coffee bar area. So we just put up a pole and put up some bird feeders. I will tell you, bird feed is a lot more expensive than I thought it was though. So if you're really pinching pennies, do not start bird feeders. But it has been kind of fun. We put all of our bird books together with some little binoculars and a little, then as soon as we put it out, then my bird lovers came back and informed me I had to get a notebook to put in there because they needed to be able to write down what bird they saw so that other people could know what birds came in there. So consider that as well then. And then the very last thing I want to talk to you about is not exactly passive because it does take some work, but if you have any space in your outdoor space at your library, I would highly recommend. We started a community garden this past year, and it has been one of the most fantastic things that we've done. So you can kind of see, so this is where we started the spring. So we bought 2 raised metal beds to start out with, but then one of our public works guys is super into kind of natural growing and taught us about a method that you can grow plants inside straw bales.
I've seen that, yes, yeah.
Yes, and it's super great because we knew we did not want to commit to a huge garden and then we weren't able to sustain it. And so we're like, well, if we just buy 2 raised beds, worst case scenario, we throw some flowers in it, call it a pollinator garden and be done with it. But this kind of let us kind of pick and choose and see how we want to move things around for the next year. So we got a donation, so we bought the little plant starting shelf there with the grow lights on it. So we started our own plants inside and then ended up with over like 120 plants that we gave out at a plant swap in May. So we invited people to come in to take some of our plants and to bring us an interesting plant for our garden then. So then there kind of add a little bit more community element to the things that we were growing, and we got some kind of thing. I mean, we grew cantaloupe and some potatoes and some other things we probably wouldn't have grown in our garden. It was a huge hit. I don't know if you can tell from the top picture though, I started my tomato plants a little too early. And so they got really big. So by the time we were at the plant swap, they were in gallon-sized containers, which took up a lot of space initially for us to like get going, but people were so excited because I don't know if you're like a garden person, but those size plants in like May at like a Lowe's or Menards are going for 15, 20 bucks a pop. And so we gave them out free. And so people loved us then. And it was a great thing. We're already kind of starting those plans for next year then. And then also thinking about we had another library that we had kind of been talking to about our garden, and they did heirloom tomatoes, but they did not tell people what variety of heirloom tomato they had. So the person got the tomato plant, but they didn't know, is this going to be purple? Is this going to be white? Is it going to, be great? Like what kind of tomato is it going to be? No one knew until it actually grew and started producing. So I think that's going to be our other, we're going to have our little, fun heirloom option there. Yes. And I know we're just about to wrap up, but I did want to, so this is kind of what it ended up looking like as it continued to grow. We did a produce sharing table in the library. So we gave away everything that we grew, and then other gardeners could bring their own stuff in and kind of share with the community too. So like, yeah, we get peaches and all sorts of peppers, cucumbers, all sorts of things. And then that led us, we had a really ugly fence around our dumpster. So we're like, why don't we just plant some sunflowers then? So we, Storytime Kids planted some sunflowers. That was just another super fun way to kind of spruce up that outdoor area. And then finally, last advice, just steal away. Take everybody else's ideas and do them yourself. So when you get to the end of this presentation, so this is like next month for December. This is our event calendars going back all the way into 2024. So anything that you've seen there that you want more information on, or you're like, oh, I'd love to do that. Do you have a template for it or something on Canva? Please feel free to reach out. We're glad to talk to everybody about those things.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, there's a phrase here that we use here that years ago our agency director said, feel free, to R&D that, rip off and duplicate.
Yes, I like that.
Yes, experience we share, and that's also why we do this show here, making sure everyone can learn from each other of different things that you could do at your library. But absolutely, you highly encourage rip off and duplicate, R&D everything. Awesome. All right. So thank you so much, Melanie. There's just so many great ideas. I think I'm sure lots of people are going to be coming to you for more information. So many fun, good ideas here. We do have some time. We will have for questions as I said, we started late because of some technical issues this morning, a little glitch we had, but we will answer any questions you all have. If you want to stick around, not a problem. If you do have to leave because you're only allotted an hour for the show, that's okay. We are recording, and if you you can watch the rest of it when the recording is available. So please do type into your questions section any questions you have, or if you have any ideas or tips or anything for things you've done at your library. We do have a good question here that I'm going to jump down to. Someone wants to know, what is your process for evaluating success other than just attendance numbers? Do you use anything else?
Well, in a perfect world, we would evaluate, fill out an evaluation form for everyone. A lot of times for us, it's literally just as we're doing the cleanup for it, talking about how we think it went. Because sometimes you don't get the people to the things that are good ideas, and we're like, and it'll drive you crazy because sometimes people will come to things you're like, that was not that cool, and then you won't get the numbers at the thing that's actually really cool. And so a lot of times we will kind of touch through and say like, okay, is this a one and done for us? Is this something, like a lot of these drop-ins, okay, we'll do it again in 6 months, or it's another great winter activity, or is it something that we want to try again, but maybe we're going to spin it slightly differently, we're going to call it something different, we're going to describe it slightly better. We talk about my people love the good pun and like a good weird name, but sometimes every once in a while that gets in the way of people actually understanding like what the heck you're going to be doing at that program. So we usually will not completely nix something unless it is just terrible. But yeah, for us it's really like our feel of, and I know it's hard, it's not really a tangible kind of thing, but like, how did we feel it went? Because
your interaction with the people who attended will give you that feel too. Were they interested? Were they engaged? Were, even if you did have a good numbers, but did they seem to not like be enjoying themselves? Yeah, yeah. I mean, attendance numbers is definitely important in what you use to show to your stakeholders and your community that what we're doing matters. Yes, people are coming in, but yeah, there's other things too.
Exactly.
We have a couple of questions about budget, because this is a lot of different programs you've got here.
Yes.
How is the budget handled for, you know, the money? I know a lot of you mentioned some things are donated or you asked or whatever, but
yes.
Have a programming budget specific number that you have?
Yes. So we do, and I'm going to preface this by saying there's always libraries every size. So like, I'm gonna throw this number out and you're gonna be like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then someone else is gonna look at it and be like, oh girl, they should really give you some more money for that. So we have a programming publicity line item budget that we're just finishing our budget for next year. And every year I keep sneaking that higher because I would rather take from other things to have more programming money than not be able to do the things that we want to do. So we spend around $20,000 on programming. Okay, but that does include some things like we pay someone to come in and do chair yoga twice a week. We pay someone to do some of those sort of things. That also is the money that we pay for summer reading out of too. So there's not a separate summer reading line item. So I feel like all of that, 20, and we're getting close, hopefully get a little closer to 25, like all of that for that amount is like pretty reasonable for us.
For everything you're doing something on pretty much every day, that's not bad. I mean, yeah. And I know we've got and your session was one that was at Association for Rural and Small Libraries Conference, which I highly recommend if anyone, they do great work. We work with them here a lot. And it is, smaller libraries. And yours, what you say, 3,700 was your?
So we're 3,700 population there.
Right. Which is what we're really talking about, these small libraries. Lots of places like ALA or something to think when they promote things to small libraries, say, for all of you with those communities of 25,000 or less. Yeah, no, that's not small.
No, well, and the thing is too, is that we also know that we're kind of, our population comes to those, but we have some neighboring library districts that may have 10,000 people, but their their size area is, they cover, yes, a huge area there.
Geographic,
yeah. And I will give another shout out. If you are someone looking at conferences, I have been twice to the Rural and Small Libraries Conference, and it is well worth it just because all of those ideas are already scaled down to a library your size. It is not like, what is the Chicago Public Library doing? And then how do I do that on 1/1000th of the budget or whatever? So definitely worth it that way.
Highly recommended, yes. And they do also have virtual sessions too. So if you're unable to travel sometimes, there's always a day, almost about a day's worth of virtual sessions that you can just watch for, and the recordings are available afterwards as well too. Yeah. All right. Someone wants to know about how does your staff have time to plan these programs? Well, you mentioned giving the staff giving them the agency to do this.
Yes, and so so of my full-time staff, I have a person who works mostly with, now they have other responsibilities, like my adult person does like OCLC and things like that, but I have a person that does mostly adult programming, and then a person who does all of my kids and tween stuff programming. And so that's really the primary focus of their day. In our library, we have a circulation desk schedule, so we don't have one person that just sits out the desk the whole day. Everybody takes an hour or two time, and like I do myself, I start every 9 to 10 every morning is me at the desk, because I think it's important to see the people actually coming into the library and who's checking what.
I don't know if you mentioned at the beginning how many staff you have.
So we have 9 total. So we have, I think, 1, 2, 3. We have 4 full-time, 5 part-time then. So yeah, and it really is just about utilizing, they're working an 8-hour day. And so she gets to have 6 of those hours is devoted to figuring out, programming options. My staff workroom, they also are all in they all have their own desk space, but are in one workroom. So they'll talk through a lot of programming ideas together, and kind of start brainstorming that way and see, we have one staff member who's kind of our crafty go-to. So even if it's kids programming, the kids person will talk to the crafty person to see if they have any suggestions there. But it's really just about like giving that time and having that flexibility to try some things out, and just not being afraid to like cold call and reach out to people. My adult services person, she was just telling me we're trying to get the local weather guy to come in and do a weather program in April. She reached out to the vet and see if the vet will come in and like give some animal tips, things like that. So it's really just a matter of, kind of giving time, but also some of these programs are specifically selected because it doesn't take anyone overseeing it. It can sit out there, and my part-time person whose primary duty at that point in night is to check out and to shelve can really just kind of oversee what's happening. And it doesn't, no one is kind of needing to sit down there or give these really complicated instructions then.
Nice. Do a lot of prior planning, yeah.
Yes.
All right. I think we're about up to our hour here. If anybody has any other desperate last-minute questions, get them in. We will answer all of them. We do have one comment, and I agree. Someone said, "I just want to say thank you for this informative and inspirational webinar."
Well, thank you. I think the biggest thing coming from a school background where she's used to doing a lot is like, I knew I was not going to be happy in a place where, we're just like sitting around twiddling our thumbs waiting for someone to come check out a book. Like that's not the kind of library we wanted to offer. And particularly, I feel like even now in our community with the economy and the way things are, we're seeing a lot of people using us as that, that third space, that the place that you can, take your kid to go play and it doesn't cost you any money, or, you can go read our paper and save yourself the, $50 a week in delivery fees or whatever. So.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Melanie. It's always great to have someone on who's so enthusiastic and into what they're doing and obviously loves it so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. All right. I am going to pull presenter control back to my screen here and do my wrap up. Is it doing it? Is it switching? There we go. Yeah. All right. So, as I said, thank you everyone for being here today. As I said, the show has been recorded. If you use whatever is your search engine of choice and type in NCompass Live, the name of our show, you find our main page here, which has all of our upcoming shows, but also our archive page, which is linked right here. Our show archives, most recent one at the top of the list. This is the one from last week. Tomorrow's will be available. Today's show will be available tomorrow. Go to webinar and YouTube cooperate with me, and we posted here along with the slide link, which I've already got over here. So we'll have that as well, so you'll be able to see the slides. Everyone who attended today's show and registered for today's show, if you weren't able to join us live, will get an email from me letting you know when the recording is ready. We also, for here in Nebraska, we have a mailing list that it will go out to, and we also have a Facebook page for the show. Go back. Yes. So if you do like to use Facebook, give us a like over there. We post reminders. Here's your reminder to log in today's show, meet our presenter, when our recordings are available, we post on here. We also use the little hashtag NComp Live, a little abbreviation for our show name, when we post on here, and onto our Nebraska Library Commission's Instagram account as well. So we'll post reminders there, so you can keep a track of what we're doing on Facebook. The show archives here, you can see there is a search feature here. If you want to see if we've done a show on a particular topic, you can search. You can search our full show archives, or at the most recent 12 months if you just want something current. That is because this is our full show archives, and I'm not going to scroll all the way down because, as you can see, it is a long page. This is our show archives going back to when NCompass Live first premiered, which was in January 2009. So we are just wrapping up our 17th year of the show. Oh my gosh. And all of our show recordings are here. So do pay attention when you are watching an old show to the original broadcast date. They all have a date. It'll tell you when it was actually live broadcast. So do pay attention to that. Some shows will be fine to watch. They'll stand the test of time, be good, useful, still good information, but some things will become old and outdated. Resources may have changed drastically. Links might be broken. People will work at different places than when they presented to us for us. So just pay attention to that. But this is something libraries do. We keep things for historical purposes sometimes. And as long as we have a place to host all of our show recordings, which right now is the Nebraska Library Commission's YouTube channel, we will always have all of our show archives out there available for you to watch. Get back to our main page here. Up next week, we had talked about this. We had mentioned summer reading. Summer reading program is our topic for next week. Sally Snyder, who is our coordinator of children and young adult library services, she'll be talking about titles that she has found over the past that would be good for next year's collaborative summer library program, summer reading program that I mentioned, Unearth a Story, anything about dinosaurs, archaeology, paleontology. So if you're looking for titles for your summer reading program, if you're using this topic. She also will be back on December 17th to talk about new children's books she discovered this year, and January 7th of next year to talk about her teen titles. These are annual sessions that Sally always does for us. So if you are your children's and teen person, sign up for all of those. Also, Melanie, you mentioned Canva a lot, which we love Canva as well. And we have done a couple of shows on that. And on December 10th, Return of the Canvaholic. Kelly Kenny is a elementary librarian here in Nebraska, and she did a session for us a year or so ago about Canva, and she's coming back to do an update on that. So if you wanted to do what Melanie was mentioning, a lot of the things she uses Canva for, or her slides are in Canva, you can please do sign up for that. So please do sign up for any of our upcoming shows. One last thing I do want to mention, we also talked about Association for Own Small Libraries. We do an annual online conference that they co-sponsor with us called Big Talk from Small Libraries. It is always the last Friday in February. So next year, it'll be on February 27th, 2026. And the call for speakers is open right now. All of our presenters at Big Talk from Small Libraries are from small libraries. We do not have big library. We do not do big libraries. Our basic criteria is all the population served, or FTE, of your library is 10,000 or less is our criteria we try to keep to. So we are accepting proposals. So if you have an idea, something cool you've been doing at your small library, we have 50-minute sessions and we have 10-minute lightning round sessions that you could submit proposals for. So please do submit a proposal and register and join us at the end of February. Proposals, call for speakers is open through December 12th. So you got plenty of time to get a session in for and see if you can be on Big Talk from Small Libraries. And if you want to know how this is done before, we have a link here to all of our previous conferences. 2026 is the 15th annual Big Talk from Small Libraries. So you can see all of our previous show, conference recordings and presentations are here. So if you want to see how things have been, who's been on, what kind of topics we've had in the past. All right, so that wraps it up for today's NCompass Lives. Thank you everyone for being with us here today. Thank you, Melanie. And hopefully we'll see you all on a future episode of NCompass Live. Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Have a good day, everyone. Yeah.